Let's destroy everything that's dear to him.
Let's indoctrinate him into the cathedral of agony.
Hello and welcome back to another episode. This is episode 2 of the new direction of the channel's going. So if you have stuck around, thank you very much. I have been given some notes by the disgruntled Octopus. He, unfortunately, has been watching Tori too much and was speaking to ChatGPT because this is what the Octopus does, and he thinks that Tori interacts with his viewer base, his subscribers, his audiences really well. So instead of doing that himself, he's got me to do it. So I'm going to go through a bit of the comments through yesterday's video. We do have Wonder Boy on the arcade machine for our beloved Graham, the Aussie Nurse Flipper. We're also going to pick some orders as well. There is a couple of Skylanders orders. I'm not going to pick them because you'll probably gather it is really hard to go through these tubs. I have said previously about a new inventory system. I haven't perfected that yet. There was a lot of fantastic suggestions, so thank you if you did supply your 2 cents worth last time. But being neurodivergent and someone special with the new direction of the channel, is that I get really excited about these things. I get really gung-ho, then I lose interest in it quite quickly. Hence why a lot of my other side projects have probably died off. So what we're going to do is probably use this as a little bit of a rant video. I don't want to make it a rant video. It's probably going to turn into a rant video because I can't help myself. So we're going to get really quickly into it. So like I said, there's a lot of Skylanders. We did sell a couple of picture books, for lack of a better term. So the War Picture Library. So I'm going to grab them now. I'm not as fancy as the Commonwealth Picker, so I'm going to go off screen for a little bit. You're going to have to enjoy the background and probably try and work out where I live because my address is under the Octopus here. Don't zoom in unless you're setting Skylanders, and you can watch Wonder Boy until I get back. So we are going to go through the comments today from yesterday's video. A lot of positive comments. One from Graham that seems to antagonise a few people, which is quite understandable. You know, Graham does love antagonising people. So we will talk about that one, and this is not really helping me. So I did print off my sheet, my pick sheet. I normally use my mobile phone or my cell, if you're in America, to pick my orders. However, I bought myself a brand new printer, like a fancy one with the ink tank. I'm not too sure. I think it might even be called an ink tank. So I'm supposed to get ahead of ourselves in the episode. I don't use a printer. So when we send things international, especially if you are Australian, you sell on eBay, you know that obviously your 4x6 Dymo or your label printer or whatever you use, handwrite, international labels pretty much require the square, you know, like A4 sheet kind of thing. I normally get the post office to send it, you know, to print it out for me. So like I do things as cheap as I can. So for me to go out and buy a $330 printer is quite a big thing for me. So I want to try and capitalize on it, because what was happening is I was buying those really dirt cheap printers, you know, the ones you pick up for 60 bucks. It would print out probably 15 or 20 pages, run out of ink, then I'll be spending another $100 for ink, then another $100 for ink probably 3 months later. So this one theoretically reckons it can print out about 6,000 or 7,000 pages before it needs to be refilled. And apparently the ink bottles that it refills with is about $20 Australian, so about 12 bucks if you're in the States. So long story short, that's a very long way of saying I should have bought one of these ink tank printers from the get-go, opposed to, you know, buying garbage over the years. So we can't pick orders because I can't work out what I did. I've got a couple of Skylanders. I might pick those out for you. But like I was saying before, is that the way that I normally pick Skylanders out, people would traditionally or generally put in an order for, one's going to Sweden for one Skylander, so they've paid $5 and they paid $35 for postage. The reason behind that, and quite quickly I'm going to talk about it, is that people have been watching my content on my alternative channel. So basically, I have mentioned previously, I've created a dedicated Skylander channel. Feeds in very well with the community, in the sense that, and I have said it numerous times, and this is not to be derogatory or, you know, make fun of people. The people that I normally deal with in the Skylander place, you know, sphere, I suppose, for lack of a better term, they are strongly neurodivergent. You can quite honestly tell they are. Like I said, I've had a lot of people reach out to me. I've had pickups and all these different things. it is a common theme across the board. And this is not to say that everyone that plays Skylanders is neurodivergent, but what I'm saying is that the customer base that I've catered to, or tailored to, or I'm marketing to, is that that demographic or that avatar. So, like I was just saying, is that people from Sweden or Switzerland, or I've had a few orders to Denmark in the last week, they're buying $5 characters and they're paying $35, $40 in postage just for one character, which is probably, I'll grab him out and give you an idea of how big it is. For virtue of the channel, and they normally leave comments on the items saying, I love the shorts, or I love the channel. So, it is worthwhile maybe making some social media, or sorry, this is riveting TV. As you can see, why I don't really like doing peak videos. So these are Skylander Trap Team Minis. They are quite small, and probably the one that I need is on the bottom. But if you can see, they are very tiny. So they're less than the size of my thumb. So he's bought Brobit, so it's off to Sweden. Just checked, and it's good to go. So like I said, I paid $5 for that, paid $35.60 for postage, and that's primarily through a funnel of the other channel I kind of built. It, to be completely honest, to be brutally honest, it is performing a lot better than I was expecting. That channel isn't to, grandstand or make myself look big in the Skylander community or say how fantastic I am. It is basically there to funnel people that want Skylanders into my eBay store to purchase. Originally, I was doing longer form content with Skylander content, in the sense that this one here, you probably can't see, I'll move the camera down a little bit. Whee! And you probably work out if I'm wearing a hat. I have said previous times before why I wear hats. This is probably give you an idea of why. I'm not going to say it again. You can leave in the comment section below why you think I wear hats, and it's not because I'm bald. So like I said, this is a big order that came in, and I would basically do 10-15 minute videos unboxing and pulling the Skylanders out one by one. Did get a little bit of a cult following. Move the camera again. A little bit of a cult following off the back of those videos, so people would get excited. I did have a couple of people reach out to me through my email address, which is on that website. The shorts and videos I put out redirects it to my eBay store, also redirects it to my website email address. And I had people reach out and say, hey, look, I really enjoy the long form content because I put it in the background and play it, or alternatively, they like the shorts content. If you are into the Pokemon card space, I don't think anyone here would have seen my Skylander shorts, because I've got 156 subscribers. The channel's about, just say, a couple months old. And I do shorts, very similar to Deep Pocket Monster, I think his name is, and he plays that, should I open it or should I leave it closed, or something similar to that. So I use that as inspiration for my Skylanders, and for once I do have a prop here. Look at me go, special. So I have said before, and these are creation crystals, right? So these are traditionally, they were sold as one use only items, in the sense that you would write a character, a special made character, we call it an imaginator, to these crystals. You'd put on the portal, then you get to play your creation. So your creation could consist of, I think, millions and millions and millions of different components, and obviously combinations and stuff like that. So flipping back to what I did on this channel, and this is what I've been trying to say to a lot of people for a long period of time, it's probably going to bite me in the ass and create me more competition, is the sense that, let's go move the camera down, that I do very similar to that Deep Pocket Monster, where he does a little jingle, should I keep it open or should I leave it closed, or whatever it is.
Let's crack open this Skylander's creation crystal. What's inside? What's inside? Oh, what could it be? Glowing vibe, bright and wild, electricity. What's inside? A secret to unveil. Mystery locked up in a crystal jail. I hear it hum, calling my name. Burning bright, breaking through the frame. The shard of fate.
But what I had AI create a song for me. So K-Fun, if you're in the chat, You probably do know what I'm talking about because she's definitely seen the channel. Graham's definitely seen the channel. And what it does is basically went into ChatGPT, told me to write me a song about Skylanders, creation crystals, and all these different keywords into a buzz thing. It spat out a 3-minute song, and it's quite catchy. It's kind of like a rock pop mystery song, or for lack of a better term for a genre. And it basically tells itself, I don't talk in these videos. I talked in the very first ones in the sense that I tried to like kind of overplay it, tried to get it a bit excited and all these different things. But now all I do, and I just put the crystal back, is that I hold the camera, I hold the crystal to the camera, and then I kind of wave it around a little bit and then put it on the portal, and the song does its work. It takes me about 40 or 50 seconds to record them because I like having it around that 50-second mark because that's when the natural first verse, I don't know, like I said, I'm not musical minded, in the song basically cuts out and cuts it to the point where it's catchy and it can wrap up the song without going further. Then editing literally takes me a minute because I put the file in there, put the song on top, detach the audio from me, clunking and clicking around with the character, then put it onto a program called Octopus Pro, which is obviously something that cuts the video to for YouTube Shorts and for TikTok. So, like I was saying, long story short, these shorts on average, TikTok probably get 100 views. On YouTube Shorts, they have been getting up to about 1.2 thousand views, so like 1,200 views. And then the funnel effect is phenomenal on these things. So none of the, and this is the crazy part, right? And I know I'm going off a bit of a tangent. The crazy part is that people aren't buying the crystals, they're actually going to the store. So it is a great funnel effect, and I have done that. So please, if you are into something that you've niched down into, you are looking at things, sourcing things, you do have to build a reputation, a kind of trust level within the community. I have been in different groups. I do have repeat buyers come through. Like I was saying, is people internationally, these shorts normally traditionally take off. If I upload them at 8 p.m. tonight from Australia time, I find that they will shoot up like almost vertically around about that 3 a.m. our time, where they hit the States and they hit the UK and Europe and all those different things. Then when I wake up, I've got Skylanders to send out. So long story short, if you are niching into things, if you are have a replenishables of some sort, it may be advantageous to do some sort of social media content that you can push it out, not to obviously profiteer on the views or the ad revenue, because I'll never get to 1,000 subscribers, let alone 4,000 watch hours on this channel. It is primarily to be used as a funnel, getting people excited about Skylanders, getting that that out there, and by virtue, it's actually helping other Skylanders sales as well. People go, oh my god, I forgot about this thing, so then they'll go onto eBay and buy their Skylanders through anyone, like literally anyone that says it. It's just that I'm linking them back to my eBay store, or they have an affinity because they've watched the previous 8 or 7 episodes of this, What's Inside, I think the episodes are called. And then, like I said, that they go from there, they look at your feedback and obviously make the purchase or make the decision from there. So enough about Skylanders. And big thank out to Joe from the Profit First Reseller. I'm pretty sure it's Profit First Reseller. Absolutely love Joe's channel. Have been watching, a bit of a silent watcher for a very long time. He unfortunately makes reference to the Octopus a fair bit. So I do apologize to Joe and to all those other people that have come over on Joe's recommendation. Like you're saying, is that I'm pretty up there on Skylanders. And what I will talk about quite quickly is, well, because we know we're a neurodivergent channel now, neurodivergent reselling channel. We need to get a new catchphrase, maybe like, we'll call it the tentacle tribe or minions. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section below what we should call people. But what I keep saying to people, and this is one of the comments that I suppose it's alluding to, and I have had this comment previously on other content creations channels, because we all talk, and things get filtered back to me, where people would, leave, I suppose, not necessarily much negative comments, but very ignorant comments, I suppose you could probably say. I can probably say that now that it's a bit of a neurodivergent channel. It can be a bit different, in the sense that saying, hey, look, he would teach us what to look for, or what sells, or all these different things. However, he's telling us not to buy them and not to compete with him. And I think I've made this clear from previous videos. With Skylanders, and this goes out to anyone that watches and is trying to break into the Skylander market, you need to understand it's a volume game, right? It's a volume market. It's one of those things that you need 3 shelves full of Skylanders. Like I could not tell you how many Skylanders I've got. I think it's about 7,000 going off on my eBay listings. So all on that side as well, Skylanders, all over here Skylanders. I've got 3 suppliers that send me Skylanders almost on a weekly basis. A big box of Skylanders here. Like I say, it's a volume game. So just quite quickly, whilst we're still talking about Skylanders, even though I told you I'm not going to talk about Skylanders, someone put an order in, and it's probably not going to show me, it's in the page of the ground. One day I'll learn to be good like everyone. So someone's bought 7 Skylanders, right? And they paid a grand total of $16.93 plus $9.99 postage. So it's $25, just shy of $25. I made no secret. So basically, generally speaking, you pay about 13 or 14% on Toys to Life. I promote about that 12%. So we're already looking about 25% down the drain just by virtue of these characters. A lot of the characters, including that $5 one I showed you earlier, that probably will come to close to break even, if not only a bit of a loss. And the simple fact is that when you hear people talk about loss leaders, in the sense of what a loss leader is that I might say, hey, look, I'm selling Skylanders at $1.99 plus $9.99 postage. On band 5, which is what I am. Hopefully I'm not going to break the table. I put a little bit of weight on lately. I was watching old videos and thinking, God, I've gotten fat. So if you know how to exercise without exercising, let me know. Joe, you're probably good for it, mate. You're skinny. So I sell the Skylander for $1.99 plus $9 postage, right? So if on band 5, if it's a regional area in Australia, that's $10.40. Your packaging materials, your promoted listings. So quite quickly you start losing money on those one-off $1.99 Skylanders. Where it comes profitable is that when people put orders of 20, 30 Skylanders, you don't need to get to that to be profitable. Those general early themes, like the green ones, which I've talked about previously, and the orange ones, majority of those are $1.99. So you, like I say, those 7 there were $16, right? So there was one in there probably $4.99, on the rest are $1.99. So you're really doing Skylanders for kind of the love of it. You're not really making huge profits. I did put a comment to one of Graham's on the other channel the other day. He did ask what my profit margin is. And to be completely honest, and this probably goes without saying, I'm trying to separate reselling and that gaming channel, right? So if you think of it as 2 different entities, if you put reselling comments or content, or you're asking for profit margins and all these different things, because like I said earlier, as I'm trying to cater to the end buyer, so the user market, right? So not B2B, it's B2C, which is business to customer. So I really want to create the illusion. This is not to fool anyone or trick them or to take advantage of them. I want them to have a pleasant buying experience, only to get, I suppose, a nostalgia hit, or get the characters that I'm particularly after. I do not want them to get bogged down by reselling content or how much I'm taking advantage of them. And if I'm buying them for $1 each and selling them for $50 or something along the lines of that, obviously profit margin. So I did throw a figure out. I think Graham was, you have to correct me if I'm wrong, 20 or 30%. To be brutally honest, it's probably closer to that 30 to 40% for Skylanders, depending on the character. Like I said, the $1.99 ones by themselves are generally loss leaders. Someone might, and it has happened on occasion, they'll come back and buy a $1.99 character, then a couple of weeks later, and I have said this previous videos, they will buy 30, 40, 50 characters, right? So they're just testing the waters to make sure that I'm not a scammer. They are getting what they order, and they are working before they fork out their cash, which is fair enough. So like I was saying before, long way of saying it is that, believe me when I say, and by all means take it or leave it, I don't particularly care, in the sense that when it would be more advantageous if you were a one-off seller, in the sense that you come across a lot of Skylanders, sell them to me. I'd normally pay about that 40% eBay value, because like I was saying, is I've lost 25% on promoted listings, I've got GST, I've got tax, I've got postage, and I've got all these different things. So generally I like to take that, if I'm buying them off other resellers and other people, they're in that 40% price point to give me about that 15 to 20% price point per reseller, for a Skylander, because I'm using Skylanders to fund my world domination aspirations. So, yeah. So like I said, just be very, very mindful of the fact is that the Skylander market is heating up, but it's not heating up in the way that people think it is. There is only certain characters that do go phenomenal amounts of money, and by virtue, there are a lot of characters that go for phenomenal amounts of money. But if you come across them as a one-off, and I have had people previously reach out to me, you probably honestly are better to reach out to me and say, hey, look, I haven't tested them. They all look fantastic. There's no broken bits. Did you want them? What were you offering me for them? And generally, I go 40% of my price points, right? Because I'm probably if not the best price person on Skylanders. So generally, if you look at my listings, go to workout, then you go 40% of that. You can pretty much get a gist of what's going on. See, 20 minutes of Skylander talk. I really wanted this video to go for 20 minutes. So we're going to get to the comments now. So Bernie, so she has, or I assume Bernie, apologies if you are a man or otherwise, is Grumpy Granny not doing YouTube videos anymore? Yeah, to be pretty honest, I don't know. I did misspeak in yesterday's video in the sense that I have spoken to Grumpy Granny in the last fortnight, the last week or so. That was by virtue of that she had seen the message that I sent on Instagram. So I know she's alive and kicking and all these different things. Not trying to speak out of turn, not trying to make words in Leanne's mouth, but she does go through periods of burnout. She did go through periods of burnout last year as well, where she basically shuts down and focuses on herself, focuses on her family for about 3 or 4 months. She goes dormant, kind of like an octopus in winter. Then she comes back up, full burl and pumping out videos every day. So I dare say that she's gone through a very similar pattern in the sense that she should be back in the next, say, a couple of month or two. I have been speaking to people in the Discord. They haven't heard from her either. She's gone radio silent, which is, one way or another, lack of a better term, is a pattern of behavior for our beloved Grumpy Granny. So it's nothing to be concerned about. Last time I did reach out to her daughter and asked if everything was okay. She said yes. Then Leanne hit me up probably about a week after that and just said, hey, look, I'm taking some time off. By all means, everyone deserves time off. But yeah, if you are watching this, Leanne, hopefully you're well. Leave me a comment. So Princess Serena, or do you prefer Usagi? You'll have to let me know. Princess Unicorn. Unicorn. Yeah, Unicorn. With the it's a Sailor Moon thing. Thrifting and selling on eBay is definitely something that attracts a neurodivergent mind. The variety of treasure hunting and the dopamine hits we get from a sale makes you feel great, but it's a double-edged sword when you are self-employed and trying to some constant motivation from a brain that sometimes melts down on you. And I agree 100%, right? So for those new viewers or those that haven't worked out what kind of weirdo I am yet, I was full-time for 2 years. I was quite a strong advocate, very similar to our national treasure Peachy, the Frankston Flipper, for not going full-time. And this is when I was doing full-time. It was flavor of the month, and basically what I was finding, and this is before I was actually diagnosed with ADHD, a little bit of a tangent, a little bit of a side story. Let's go on a side quest. Maybe that could be a new catchphrase. So me getting tested for ADHD and everything else on the spectrum was by virtue of Grumpy Granny, right? So if you go back to our podcast, very early episodes on my channel, or you can go to the Worst Reselling podcast channel, or you can go to Grumpy Granny's. She's fantastic. Give her the support, give her as much love as you can. You will notice, probably part of the reason why the Octopus was doing it is that she'd be there talking and I would just like phase out of reality, or ask her to say what she was saying again, because all these different things, I would get easily distracted. Grumpy Granny being neurodivergent herself, she's got ADHD, said to me, hey, look, you need to get tested because you have got so many flags that make me think that you're neurodivergent. And if you are, and this is not a dig at anyone, and it's by virtue of me watching Tori. I wish I was my superpowers were very similar to Tori. Like, whenever he gets a sale, he laughs like a maniac and he's quite creative with his writing. My superpowers, if you say that with ADHD, is calling out bullshit. I've got a really, really, really bad streak of basically knowing when people are bullshitting and go from that way. So anyway, getting back onto the side quest, is that she was part of the reason why I got tested and obviously came back quite high on the scale for ADHD. Not to say it's a contest or a competition, But like I was saying, is that's pretty much, I can credit me becoming medicated. If you have watched my videos, and Graham did make a comment the other day when I was talking about my video, I didn't take my medicine. And he said, look, yeah, contrast it to your different videos. I don't think I'm any different. Like, yeah, in the sense that when I am medicated at the moment, even though I'm going a little bit off tangent, excuse me. I lose track and, you know, kind of scatterbrain. I think I've said before, and let me know if you are, or if you're not, if you know someone that's neurodivergent in the comment section. Is your brain, I can't even talk. If your brain is your brain, there we go, fourth time the charm. Is your brain on all the time? Yeah, to me, and I was talking to one of the guys at work today, he was saying that, you know, like, he wanted to do something, he has to close it off, or his brain just keeps talking to him until he closes it off, right? So I got the answer, and he did all these different things. And I said to him, that's not my brain's like 24/7. If it's constantly talking to me. And I think I have said this in a previous episode, when I was studying uni, I was doing English. I love English, you know, it was one of probably the subjects I was good at, because a little bit of creativity. I would have to sleep with a notepad and pen next to my bed, for the simple fact is that things would pop into my head at 3 o'clock in the morning. I had to write them down, and they'd be pretty, you know, if I do say so myself, they'd be pretty fantastic. You know, they're like really good quotes, or they'd be really good talking points from my essays, or they'd be good things to talk about people that I was having issues with at work, which, let me tell you, if you think politics is political, wait till where I am. But if I didn't write it down, it would be gone in the morning, because a couple of times I got caught out, so yeah, I'll write that down in the morning, and wake up in the morning and completely forgot what I thought about. And yeah, 2 or 3 times of that, quite quickly I learned to write stuff down. So like I say, let me know in the comment section below, is your brain on all the time? I did find very early when I started taking the medication, it did quieten it down for a lot. I was on a very low dose of Ritalin back then. I'm on 60 milligrams a day now, so 2 tablets, probably, am I on 15 or 20? I don't know. So I take 2 tablets. It's 10 milligrams. I used to be on 10 milligrams of Ritalin. Now I'm on 60. So it's 2 tablets a day, 3 times a day. Jeez, I'm getting mixed up with my blood pressure medication. Yeah, so like I was saying, is that when I first started taking the Ritalin, my brain was completely quiet. Like, it was fantastic. You know, it was silence. And then got to the point where I felt I was being hindered, like, from my creative side, if I like a bit of term. I can't articulate very well, is that, you know, even though there's not voices in my head telling me to do things, other than the octopus is outside my head and he tells me to do things, but what I was having is that was that dead quiet. I wasn't used to it. You know, when I first started taking the medication, even now, it's not as quiet, but, you know, I'll get to what I'm talking about. It was getting to the point where it was quiet. It was very welcomed at the start, but then what I found is that I almost became like a vegetable, or a vegetative state, in the sense that those things would pop in my head, which were quite quick and quite snappy and quite good for yeah, obviously problem solving, and reactionary, in the sense that if place was burning down at work, you know, people would be losing their marbles, where I'd just go, hey, look, it's just easier to fix it this way, bang, 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 and quite, you know, crisis averted from that way. But what I was finding is that quietness was drowning that out, so I had to kind of alternate, you know, medication periods and non-medication periods. So all those different things. So let me know in the comment section below. Long story short, I know it's probably a very long ramble. Does your brain talk to you, or is busy 24 hours a day? So going back to Princess Serenity, or Princess Serena. Yeah, so basically it's a double-edged sword when you're trying to self-employ it and trying to summon the constant motivation from a brain that sometimes melts down on you. Yep, burnout, all those different things. When I was working full-time, I would get periods of like really strong motivation to list, to take, you know, sourcing, like she was saying. Then it would get to periods that, you know, I'll just have a nap for an hour. Then what I would try to do, lay in bed and have a sleep, but I couldn't sleep, which wasted 2 or 3 hours, and all these different things. So it wasn't really working for me. But when I'm at work, I've got structure and I've got all these different things. I prefer working for myself. I don't take, even though I'm in the military, I don't take orders very well. Where I am, it's like an adult learning environment per se for the military. So I'm given a bit more leniency with what I can do and what I can get away with. So not that traditional structure of being screamed at or being told what to do. It's more of a case of, it's university learning and, you know, conversion of ideas, and, you know, kind of, you're an adult yourself kind of thing. Perhaps we all need an octopus overlord in our lives to crack the whip and give us new direction. Oh, sorry. So the direction for this new channel, this channel will be great. Jesus, maybe I need glasses to add to the list of ailments that I've got going on at the moment. No, you don't want an octopus overlord screaming at you because, like, you know, he's pretty he's pretty maniacal, and I probably will rail. Yeah, like I said, long story short, don't recommend. So next one is that Flips the Doofus, so Seamus or Seamus, or whatever you want to pronounce your name, is that me too. How about that? So I think he may have been referring to when the octopus called himself really, really ridiculously good looking. So good for you, Seamus. I think you are a good looking man, mate. Helo's World, Railroad Reseller, my beloved Chris. He's glad to hear a guest appearance, and Chris wants to come on to the grilled octopus, and heaven help you, Chris. I feel we're still friends after that, mate. Because, like I said, the octopus isn't taking any prisoners. He's reached out to 2 content creators at the moment. So one known, and if you have been watching the channel for quite a long period of time, someone that I kind of give little side quips at, so he wants to come on the channel, and someone that's lesser known in the community. So I've been reaching out and talking to them as well. Ford Falcon. Yeah, if you want... I don't really want to call you by your username, so if you want me to call you by, you know, just put, you know, Josh or John or Brad, or every second reseller wears a hat with a beard, seems to be called Brad. Just put your name at the back of it, and I'll call you by your name. I think it's really, really, really awkward, and by virtue, yeah, if you don't want to, I'm more than happy to use your username. I just prefer to use real names, or your first name, or whatever you want to be called. Necessarily, it just gives that closeness and that, like I'm talking to someone. But yeah, so he misses Octo Reacts in your office. That was a sample of, and that sample intro of the octopus walking past the window, with the lovely sunny suburban backyard in the background, had such a relaxed feel about it. So the octopus replied, I forgot about that intro. I'll find it and use it in future videos. Might bring it back for the reaction videos, depending on the source video. And he said, awesome, thanks, mate. So I will hopefully try and overlay it in this video, and hope for the best. It wasn't at the back, it was the front. So that is a throwback to a couple of years ago. Diary of a Flipper had I won't say a reseller meetup, but it was kind of a reseller get together with a couple of us. And that was the octopus. He actually went down and paid a visit. So that him walking past the screen past the window back in that video was actually on his way to Judda's house. So that's a little bit of trivia for those that don't know. Geelong Flipper, happy to chat to the octopus anytime, any place. Like Chris, he might be open to the grill. Friendly neighbourhood linguist. I voted for the octopus. I think that was in reference to the Australian election. So I don't think he got a minority seat, but let's see what's going on. Joe said thank you for sharing this, so hopefully you do like it, Joe. The Aussie Nerf Flipper, and this has kind of caused a little bit of controversy. So Graham is no stranger to controversy. Very similar to the octopus. Just turn off the archive machine. So Graham, for those that don't know, is the Aussie Nurse Flipper. He is a constant supporter for a lot of channels in Australia, kind of says how he sees it. So I just wanted to prefix this, and before we go into it. So I made reference yesterday to the rant videos, which is kind of, this is probably going to rant into, regarding an Australian reseller selling a $450 course on how to sell on eBay and the requirements for the prerequisites, whatever that word is, let me know in the comment section below, for them to be classed as successful in delivering that eBay course or that value for $450. I'm not going to say Graham, I'm not being baited, mate. You're all resellers, and I said before, you need to do your own research, make your own decisions, and go from that way. And like I was saying before, is that, for lack of a better term, and this might be bullshit, this might be like, tinfoil hat conspiracy, which I didn't want to talk about yesterday. What I found is I'm quite passionate about calling out bullshit, or what I think is taking advantage of people, right? So this is part of my reasoning as to what I think about this course. You can probably work out from previous videos what I kind of think of this kind of mechanism. And this is not taking away people that are delivering a product that provides a service to people. And by virtue that, this may be a service that people need, but $450 to me is a little bit excessive for the the gate or the goalposts, or basically the tick in the box to meet the criteria is for you to basically go top rated. So you need to make it, I think $1,000 and 100 sales or something like that over a period of a year, maybe a year, and that means that the course is successful and you're no longer entitled to a refund. From my glance of it, like I said, I haven't gone too far into it, but that's the takeaway from what the course is. So if you go back to my podcast with Grumpy Granny, with the Octopus, we did a quite a heated, well, I wouldn't say heated, it wasn't received very well, put it that way, review of the then Daily Refinement Patreon group, or the Facebook group, which has since been taken over by Tech and Sports, right? So it's no secret as to what I think about paid memberships, but however, if I was to recommend, with caveats, that if you wanted to learn how to resell, if you wanted to do an eBay course as such, I would probably recommend the the Tech and Sports group for a month. So if you're in Australia, you're paying about $65 Australian for a month. Get in there, learn what you need to get, learn off a lot of other people, learn at your rate, in the sense that look at people like Joe, the Profit First reseller. He's doing $1,000 a day. If you are brand new to eBay, you don't know what ebay.com.au is, or if you don't know what eBay is, and your first interaction with eBay is a $450 course, don't look at channels like Profit First Reseller, even though I love Joe and he's fantastic, and this is almost like a Joe circle jerk. But for transparency, and another side quest, I'd normally take my wife's car, which you can't see, but pretend, believe me, it's just out the door, right? On a Saturday morning to get a car wash, because we pay like a monthly fee, and we can take the car to get washed as many times as I want over that course of the month. I think it's about $50, $60. So they hand wash it, and they basically put it through an automatic car wash. Then they hand dry it, they vacuum it out, and all those different things. It saves me doing it, gives me an opportunity to catch up on listings or customer service stuff like this. Side quest of the side quest is that, going back to, I think I was watching a video the other day, and I can't remember who it was, but they basically said that that they run a business, and people have to understand that they run a business, so they turn off their customer engagement at 5 o'clock, or they were pretty much alluding to that after 5 p.m. is that they're not talking to the customers anymore. So as soon as I get one in, I respond straight away. So I normally, like I said, if anything comes out at Friday night, I do have a lot of questions coming in through Skylanders with portals, in the sense that if I buy this Xbox 360 portal, will it run on a PlayStation 4? No, it won't. But I'm a lot more polite than that. So I do get a lot of those questions every night. So I go to the car wash, then I put Joe on in the background, because it's just very easy listening. Then catch up on my eBay stuff and all these different things. But if I had to wash the car myself, I'd probably be out there for 4 hours, because I'd notice like a little speck, or I'd notice a bug on the windscreen after I spent 3 hours cleaning it, then go through the whole process again, because I've got problems and I probably lick my elbows. But that pretty much goes away to saying I have no idea what I lost track of what I was saying. I'll go back to the Tech and Sports group. So like I said, everyone knows what I think of paid Patreon groups and all those different things. And like I said, that's not to take away from people that are deserving of providing training. There are a lot of fantastic people in that group that know their stuff, and there's a lot of people in that group that will unfortunately never amount to much. And that's probably a really hard way of saying it, but you really need to be understanding of that 100% of the people that do this, probably 80-90% of them will fail or give up or move on or get into debt. And I have said numerous times before, when Grumpy Granny and I started doing the podcast, we did get it in like a very quantifiable messages through Instagram and through I think YouTube as well, where people were saying that they were following resellers' business models quite intently, in the sense that back in those days they're following the Aussie Flipper, Matt the Aussie Flipper, and back from Burnout, where they would buy like a metric ton of DVDs, or they'd buy a metric ton of books, then wonder why they had lost all their money or they're now in debt. like I said before, this is not a dig at either of those. It is that you cannot copy a business model. And this is what I said a little bit earlier, if you caught up with what the Skylanders is. Just because if you see tubs and tubs and tubs and tubs and tubs of Skylanders, if you go to the sold listings, you see lots and lots and lots and lots of octopuses in the sold listings. It is by virtue of that I've built that reputation. I've built a funnel. I've built reliability. I've built supply chains. I've built all these different things. You coming across a bunch of Skylanders on Facebook Marketplace for $20, you may get lucky and hit up a couple in the sense that you might have a couple of rare characters and they sell quite quickly, but for the vast majority, you probably get out of the crap and they'll probably just languish for a very long time. So, geez, one day I'll stop looking mobile. So that is a very long way of saying that, do not spend $450 on an eBay course teaching you how to eBay. There is more than enough tutorials on eBay, on YouTube, and all these different things teaching you how to sell. The biggest thing is that if you want my advice is to obviously, like everyone says it, source from home, video games, vintage stuff, make sure it all works, make sure it's not all scratched, things that are high ticket dollar, source from your own home. If you have things, like articulate very well, it's quite late at night here, well, one day I'll learn to talk, like Switch games, or you have really high-end Funko Pops that are quite sought after. Majority of them are not, but you might have a Grail, or you might have Dungeons and Dragons books, or Skylanders, or Zombicides, so stuff along the lines of this that are quite sought after, quite heavily into demand. Source from those. Look, don't use your phone and use a barcode in Australia. Like in America, it's probably good because I think that the barcode is absolutely required in the US, and if you are over there, please let me know because I'm not too certain about that. But in Australia, I would hazard to say that probably 1 in 20 people use, and this is statistics I just pulled out my butt, they probably use that scan feature, right? So, here's a Skylander, right? So this one's called the Buzzwing. It is one of the most, the most sought after vehicles, but it's one of the rarer vehicles and sought after, and all these different things. So that barcode on the bottom, if you scan that barcode, it will probably come up with listings of $300-400. And you probably think, oh my God, this is fantastic. And, I'm going to sell it for $300-400. But when you type in Skylander Superchargers Buzzwing, you probably will get smashed back to reality where I think I'm selling it second hand in the sense of used for $40, I think it is. But what I do is I don't, unless it's a really high-end character, those brand new and box ones there, they go out as seconds in the sense that they go out as used items. So people will put orders through, they'll either receive one that's out of box like this, and this is how it's advertised, or they will get a vehicle. I don't have any on me at the moment. They'll be expecting a car version of this Skylander, right? So very similar to that. And they'll get a brand new box. And that's how I build that customer base. That's how I build the repeat customers, because I'm giving them more than they expect. This is a 10-minute video that's turned into 42 minutes. Tori, I'm coming for you. I'm going to do your 4-hour videos. So, like I was saying, is that don't spend $450 on a course. Join a Facebook group or a Patreon group for a month. Don't spend any longer in there. Get the basic skill sets, what you need. Reassess if that's what you want to do. If you want to stay in there, if you want to do eBay, I would probably, if it was up to me, I'd probably jump into that Patreon group, learn the basics, like the 101s, and what to look for in a particular niche. Have a talk to some niche sellers, see if you can source that product, if it's accessible to you, if you're interested in selling. Like I said before, I used to sell clothes. I hated clothes. I'd never go back to clothes. Go from that way, jump out, maybe do 2 or 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months on your own just to see if you like it, get your processes down pat, work out your best practices, your process mapping, your process list, your sourcing channels. Don't go to op shops, don't go to thrift stores. Potentially look at having the stock coming to you, and this is stuff that I've learned too late into this reselling career, if you would say that, in the sense that I would go out to op shops, I would go out to thrift shops, spend copious amounts of time, and this is where I disagree with Tech, in the sense that it might be different where he is. I'm not disputing him. Where he goes, to 50 op shops or thrift stores and gets the fire at what he says and all these different things. That's not the reality of what I'm finding. yeah, you might call it bullshit. You know, you don't know everything. You know, rah, rah, rah. That's fine. You know, I've never purported to to know everything. I know everything about Skylanders pretty much, but you know, like it's an opportunity cost thing in the sense that if you want to niche down in a particular product, you know, like if you want to sell video games, if you want to sell Skylanders, if you want to sell eskies or robot vacuum cleaners, and you can get them en masse, on quantity, and become a considerable force of nature within that category, you're better off having it come to you. Because like I'm saying is that I have big shipments come to me probably at 3-4 times a week with probably 100, 200 characters in each box. I test them. There is a failure rate in those characters, right? In the sense that I buy them out of goodwill, in the sense that the suppliers know, and I have lost a couple of them, well, lost in the sense that I gave up on them because they're just crud. That yeah, you need to understand that you know you are taking a risk on having items come to you. And very similar, if you haven't already and you are in Australia and you are into clothing, have a look at Diary Flipper's latest video, Jutta. He did do one on a wholesaler that he previously recommended. I don't know if he recommended it, but sorry, Jutta, I don't think you get this far in the video anyway, mate, so I'm gonna blow you. But that supplier has gone to ground. So literally, I won't say scamming, but it seems to be very similar vibes in the sense of that. So people have been placing orders for maybe $100, $150, $200 boxes of jeans and clothes and all these different things. And this person's just gone silent. They're not fulfilling orders. They're not getting back to customer complaints. I did go through Jutta's video, his comments, and this is pretty much where I'm going with this course, right? So in the sense that you really, really, really need to look at things from a subjective point of view, and this is like I'm saying is like, I'm not going to say this is a superpower, but I'm probably going to throw it in there occasionally, but you really need to look at things from a skeptic's mind. When people run courses, when people run Patreon groups, when they do YouTube content and all these different things, even myself, and I will be the first to say it, right, is that what is their alternative motive? Why are they doing this stuff? Why are they giving this stuff away for free? It is a funnel. Like I was talking a little bit earlier with Skylanders in the sense that I do some really cheap shorts. I do some stuff that really triggers the dopamine in those people that aren't most likely neurodivergent. Yeah, like I said, I trigger that dopamine hit. Then they come to my store and buy it. So the benefit to me, even with a low subscriber count, is that I'm making sales off very, very, very little work. But what I'm saying is that when you see people like offering Patreons and, you know, all these different things, you know, and I'll be the first to say, you know, I don't think people have said it. When Tekken Sports does his lives on a Thursday for us, might be Wednesday in America, or if he does his, you know, his podcast, he does all these different things, people talking about it. It is a funnel. Like, you know, I have no problem against it. Like I say, please don't take it the wrong way and think I'm bad mouthing the man, because I think it's genius. If I was smart enough to do it, I would do it. He's creating a funnel, so it's, in the essence, is giving you something, or he's giving you a nugget or a bit of gold. On the premises is that, you know, if you pay him, you know, $30 American a month, you will get, you know, more profitable and more, you know, times over, and more, you know, like obviously more information, all those different things. That is a funnel, right? So he's giving you, you know, the live chats, because he has mentioned on occasion, you know, like if you do watch his live, he said he runs a video, he runs a Patreon group or a Facebook group that's got X amount of members that are making billions of dollars a year and all these different things. And like I said, it's not a slight at the guy. I don't particularly care. It's not my business model, but yeah, I'm not going to bag it. He's probably making a bit of coin out of it. But like I was saying, very similar to this this eBay course, I'm happy to recommend, you know, the Tekken Sports Facebook group, you know, with caveats. If you go back to my original video, nothing's changed. I can tell you that. But like I'm saying is that is only like a $60 commitment. The worst case scenario is you are going to lose $60. If you do this other course, they're potentially losing $450, right? So yeah, you look at it from a skeptic's point of view, you know, is it really, really, really worth the investment, especially if, you know, it's very tight in Australia at the moment. There is a cost of living crisis. People normally gravitate to the things like get rich quick schemes, you know, something that, how do I say that people are taking advantage of people without saying people are taking advantage of people? That's what I kind of get the feel for this course, right? Like I'm saying is, you know, I'm not you know, completely separate away from, yeah, Tekken Sports, in the sense, like I'm saying, is if you are in Australia, the worst case you're going to lose is $60, and he has said on numerous occasions, if you you don't like his content or you don't like the stuff, he'll give you a refund for that month. But on the flip side is that I kind of find it a little bit predatory in the sense that people are doing it tough. People are, trying to gravitate to make ends meet. And this is very similar to what Tori started his channel off, is in the sense of saying, hey, look, he wants to help those people that are struggling to make ends meet. So people like that, and I have said it before, and I have said it numerous times, and this is not an egotistical thing. This is not me being a prick. This is just me being real, right? In the sense that people, are experiencing hardships, financial hardships, that they may be in a situation where they need to leave their partner due to violence or anything along the lines of that. And they are looking the promises of get rich quick, or quick riches, and go to the thrift store and buy something for $5 and sell it for $60 or $600 or $6,000. Then to run a course for $450, teaching people the very, very, very basics of eBay, which you could probably do with a little bit of research. Give me a weekend and you could probably do a complete, crash course, with a couple of videos, probably like, two Aussie thrifters and Uncle Wayno and other place, Tori to a lesser extent. I think Tori's more of an education channel, an entertainment channel, post-education. But people watching people like that, especially the how-to ones, like I said, you need to be very thrifty in the sense that when you're starting off, use your phone camera. I still use my phone. This is an iPhone 12. I've had this for about 3 years now. Before that, I had an iPhone 10 for how many years that was out. I use a cardboard box for my background. So when you see my photos for my Skylanders, my eBay store's in the description, so by all means go and have a look. I use Photo Room, so I pay $55 Australian a year. Back then you could do the yearly subscription. I don't know if you still can. It takes out the background. So like I said, is that I just use a couple of boxes. So don't get, and I use natural lighting. So I sit next to the window and take some photos, and maybe you have to take a couple of extra photos to get the lighting right. But I don't, go to Bunnings and buy core flute, the white cardboard stuff, or I don't buy those big studio lights, or I don't buy all these different things. The racking system, I've said this previous videos, is I bought this primarily from when I was selling eBay, selling Lego. So like I'm saying, is that this stuff had been paid for itself, and these racks are probably, one's about 4 years old and the other one's probably about 10, 15 years old. So buy quality is what I was saying earlier with the printer. Buy quality when you can, but do not buy stuff on the virtue of, every year a lot of YouTube resellers roll out, how to eBay videos, and they tell you to buy, shelving and racking and, storage containers and all these different things from the get-go. And like I was saying a little bit earlier, is 85 to 90% of people that I talk to at some stage, and Forrest Fines Online, Christian, always jokes with me in the comments that we had Nightmare Flippers, which I thought was a fantastic channel. There was a father and stepson. They were dressed up as Freddy Krueger and Ghostface, and then we had the Media Madman, Carl Media Madman, that quit his job to go full time, did some videos, then created another YouTube channel trying to sell a course showing people how to YouTube. And like I say, is that each to their own. Like I said, but. You probably want 1,000 subscribers if you're going to sell a course on how to YouTube, not probably a couple hundred, which is what he had at the time. But like I'm saying, is that be very, very, very skeptical, even to myself. And like I said, by all means, I don't disclose the figures that I'm on. I don't disclose all this other stuff. You can work it out yourselves. It's not hard to go through my sold listings. And like I said, if you work on the basis of probably anywhere between 20 to 35% on the Skylanders, depending on the character, you got a pretty much rough figure of where I'm looking at. Not enough to live on. I wish it was. But like I say, be very, very, very skeptical of looking at things. Don't get romanticized. Don't get dragged in by the lure of riches and all these different things. So that is a very, very long rant in regards to that. So Graham, you got what you wanted. So the rant, I meant to prefix this earlier, but anyway, we'll get to it anyway. So the comment from Matt Perkins, so I don't know if this is actually a pseudonym or potentially the person, if you can work it out. Why is it necessary to hang shit on other people? A number of resellers seem to take great delight in doing it, completely unnecessary and unprofessional in my opinion. I agree, Matt, in the sense that it's unnecessary, but sometimes it's a necessary evil, right? So one of the comments in Judda's video, and this is one of the reasons I brought it up for, is that if you are this far into the video, someone commented on it saying, thank you for bringing it to our attention. Don't be one of those people that just sit back knowing what's going behind the scenes and getting people, ripped off and all this sort of things. And that's not to say that, if you do a $450 course, you're going to get ripped off, but or anything like that. But you really, really, really need to look at these things from a skeptical side. I personally wouldn't be able to sleep with myself if I didn't say, hey, look, $450 is probably taking the piss. But like I was saying, is that that's not attacking the person, even though probably roundabout way it is, because it's quite like, if I'm going to say it is quite predatory behavior. But I would rather, bring an alternative point up to people in the sense of saying, hey, look, necessarily a rant video where I just name the person and say they're a scumbag, and 40 minutes of heckin' Steve if you haven't caught up with him, but kind of that kind of particular content. It's not. It's basically looking at behaviors, looking at very patterns. And I have done reaction videos to people that have been upset about Monster High dolls in thrift stores. Is this the kind of person or behavior that you want to be endorsing? Like, why are we congratulating this kind of behavior and all these different things? So, but going back to the unprofessional, in my opinion, what is professional in reselling, mate? Like, it's almost like, every man for themselves. So I don't think really you need to understand this when you're reselling. This is from my opinion. By all means, take it or leave it. Let me know in the comment section below. There is no rules that govern reselling, in the sense that there's no rules that govern YouTube. You'll see other people take swaps at other people. You'll see people, do clickbait titles. I do all these different things. What's professional to you may not be professional to another person, or vice versa. So, like I said, it's really choose your own adventure when it comes to professionalism. So then Graham obviously dug more salt in, said, but you upset the paranoid ones. Years ago, it was the normal thing to do. No one got upset. Yeah, and like I'm saying, it's just, it is what it is. And a lot of people gravitate towards that negative content. A lot of people, and by virtue, I have said from the start, and I'm trying to wrap this 10-minute video up, that I always hold myself to the same regard as I hold someone else. So by all means, if I say something about someone, if I don't necessarily agree with their practices, and I have said things over the years which have probably pissed a lot of people off, and it probably cost me a couple of close friendships with another couple of YouTubers, that I found what they were doing was quite predatory as well. However, like I was saying, is that you really, really need to choose your own adventure. Your professionalism, all those different things. So then Graham apparently thinks that Octo made a better PM. I don't know. I didn't know who was the Prime Minister, but thanks, Graham. So K-Film wants to know, she wants to definitely confirm that Octo didn't elope with Grumpy Granny. Like you said in the comments yesterday, Grumpy Granny's not old enough for him. He's more interested in a lot more aged ladies. And wrapping it up is that Forrest Vines said, please get the fruit on as your first guest. And that's a reference to Peachy. So like I was saying, is that I kind of want to give it some realism in this channel. I want to give it some validity, but just kind of what's going through my head, what other people may find with their day-to-day life. What I have found is that, and this is quite ironic, is that over doing some research and looking back in retrospective over the years, is that I've kind of wore a mask, with this ADHD stuff, and kind of blended into, groups and, conform to what people wanted and all these different things. So this is what I kind of did, a little bit of a divert with the channel, in the sense of saying, hey, there is a lot of people, I was watching Phoenix Resales, or whatever his name is. He's definitely on the spectrum. I'm not saying it's bad or different, but if you watch his content, it's quite evident that he's neurodivergent in some capacity. Even the way that he interacts with his staff, you can see that he is trying to impress them, in the sense of trying to, even though they're taking the piss out of him, taking swipes out of him, he is trying to conform to their pattern, or their behavior patterns, and or even making fun of his own expense, all these different things. And you can see obviously he's uncomfortable about it, but he's trying to mask it to be fit into the group, which is a little bit weird because he's the boss. So like I'm saying, is that for a very, very, very long time, I have worn various masks to fit into different groups and to obviously conform, because you don't really want to be the outlier. You don't want to be the odd one out, or the octopus in the crowd kind of thing. So like I was saying, it's like, I'm trying to, give a safe space, or lack of a better term, or a community, or somewhere we can hang out in addition to Tori, because Tori's fantastic. I love Tori. Where I want to get more spatial awareness out there, more more talking points, more people being, not having to hide who they are, more people getting, acceptance of people with neurodivergence in the reselling space. Because one of the comments, and by all means I think it might have been a beloved Sailor Moon. Every time I see a pretty picture I guess thinking of Yasagi. Why I wear a hat, because I didn't gel my hair. Lack of it. And she said it, we get the dopamine hit. The guy, I think I've said in previous videos, is that I normally get my dopamine hit by pissing people off, right? And not so much pissing them off, pushing buttons. And the guy that sits next to me, literally, he's almost like an emotional punching bag for me, for lack of a better term, is that I'll push his buttons to the point where he gets mildly frustrated, but still takes it in good humor, just to get like a dopamine hit. And like I said, it's just by virtue of, I'm not jumped on the bandwagon, or I'm not jumped on the ADHD train because it's cool. It's just becoming more clarity when you research and you go, oh yeah, I have that, or I've experienced that, or this is, kind of looking into things and researching it. And, as much as I don't endorse it, chatting to ChatGPT and saying, hey, look, this is what's going on. How can, I, conform, or draw in a bigger audience from the Skylander space with neurodivergence. This is my experience with neurodivergence, and I'll list kind of a little bit of the history, my family history when I was growing up, my schooling and my friend groups and all these different things. How can I convert that to be communicatable to people that with neurodivergence in this kind of thing? Because I'm quite I'm early 40s, and the people I'm selling Skylanders to are probably late teens, early 20s. So there is that age gap. It's almost like that meme where you see Steve Belushi, with a skateboard over his shoulder, say, hey, fellow kids. And I do feel out of sorts, and this is part of the reason why I don't like doing the long form content on the Skylanders channel, because you've always got like a guy that's potentially beat these kids' father in age, telling them how cool Skylanders are and all these different things. They love it. They resonate with it, because it is someone that's talking their language that basically that they can talk to. Because I don't know if you find the same about reselling. If you go to your significant other and tell them that you found a pair of True Religion jeans in the op shop or the thrift store, or you're cleaning Xboxes, or you're selling Wii remotes, or you're selling Skylanders, my wife, she glazes over. She couldn't care less. So, I suppose, for lack of a better term, I'm providing that community, or that sense of belonging to those people that are buying Skylanders from that channel, and engaging with them. And like I say before, is that if you want to talk reselling, by all means talk it on this channel. On the other channel, I'll just delete your comments. And that's nothing personal. Like I said, I'm just trying to create a community in isolation of reselling, and go from there. But anyway, let me know in the comment section below if you like these longer form 10-minute videos, or otherwise we'll catch it next time, and we can test and adjust. Ford Falcon, I will take into advisement your reaction videos. I probably will do one. It will be, like I said, it'd be dependent on the content. There is a lot of reaction videos going on at the moment. Pegasus Lounge, I think he's doing some at the moment. I kind of agree. I think Josh Gott was talking about it the other day, where he makes some valid points, but the way he goes around it is probably not the best way. He's kind of like an egotistical prick, which I can resonate with. I can say that because I've been accused of that before myself. And by all means, if you're still here at an hour and 2 minutes and 43 seconds, don't take it as being an egotistical prick. Take it as passionate advice. Literally, if I'm telling you things, it's not to pad my ego. It's not to say how fantastic I am. It's not to say, look, I'm fantastic. I'm the Skylander king. Get your own. It is out of the best interest. And like I talked about, people cracking the sads about monster high dolls at thrift stores, or people selling $450 courses, or people having Patreon groups, or people having channel memberships and all these different things. By all means, if you want to support the person, go for gold. I have no problem with that. I support a lot of channel memberships by virtue just to probably annoy them, like with Tori and Two Aussie Thrifters. Grumpy Granny, I still pay channel membership for her, and she's gone dormant. Chris Helo's World, Soda City Flips. Like I said, there is a lot of people I support. I don't have channel memberships on. That's not to say I won't in the future. I will probably, in the long term, just for complete transparency, I probably will turn channel memberships on for the Skylander channel when I meet the criteria, or alternatively, I will create like maybe a $1.99 Patreon, which will give you access to a Discord. And this, like I said, this is just a, you know, not aimed at resellers, right? This is aimed at the target market to build that sense of exclusivity, that sense of that they would get, like, you know, advanced notice of the drops, because a lot of the Skylanders will drop, almost sell out instantly depending on what the character is. They'd get like a 25% coupon, to go through the website. All these different things. Like I say, it's building that community and building that funnel, locking them into my my sphere of influence. I don't know, but like very similar to the tech and sports bubble, right? Instead of doing it for resellers that on the hope of getting rich or learning how to do eBay properly, I'm doing it to the Skylander community to a lesser extent. There is a big guy that I reference quite honestly, quite frequently, in the Skylander space in America. Probably one of the biggest known, if well-known person that does Skylanders. He runs a very similar model, and that's what I'm copying. I'm just doing an Australian one, doing a watered-down one, and going from there. And like I said, it's something I'm looking at the stage. I'm looking to roll it out and try and capitalize on all those different things. It's just a case of that. It's to pretty much keep those people into my ecosystem, in the sense that if they're paying $1.99 a month, they're getting a 25% coupon to go through my website. It is bringing them back as repeat customers, and cutting out the other Skylander sellers on eBay, because, like I said, that they have that sense of belonging, they have that sense of ownership, or that sense of belonging, and what they probably crave. I crave it, right? So this is something that would resonate with me, and probably resonate with other people as well. But let me know what you think of the video. Let me know if I've rambled too much. Let me know if I went too many side quests. Let me know of what you think of the podcast. Like I said, that not the one that we had done previously, or the one with the Octopus, basically just grilling people, like no holes barred, and go from there. But anyway, we'll wrap this video up now, and we'll roll it out. We'll see you next time. Bye.